Hi, I'm Cameron. For most of my videos, typically speaking, when I go into making it, I try to have a specific title in mind around what I'm going to want to talk about. But typically what ends up working out with that is that I'll have that title in mind, and then I'll start talking about something and kind of end up getting away from that title, and I end up naming the video something else. So for this one, I went into it thinking that the title would be, I wish I didn't feel so incompetent. But now that the camera's on, and I'm speaking to you right now, I feel like that's not necessarily what I want to say, or what I feel like saying. Maybe it would be something closer to, I wish people respected me. But even then, I'm not quite sure what it is exactly that I'm going to name this video. Maybe this video will be named, I didn't know what to name this video. I don't think it's gonna be that one, though, if I'm being entirely honest with you. Rather than putting a lot of thought into it, I think it's better if I just kind of get to the point. I feel like getting to the point helps a lot. Some of these videos get kind of long, and I think condensing it down a little bit makes it a bit more digestible, you know, and that's what we're all here for, digesting things easier. And speaking of digesting things easier, that's as good of a segue as any as I can get for what I want to talk about. That's related to the rest of what I wanted to talk about. I am not good at cooking. Quite frankly, I've never had anyone ever teach me how to cook except for my 10th grade nutrition and wellness teacher. She's fantastic, and I hope if she sees this that she's doing even better than I thought she was as a teacher. I didn't exactly retain much of her cooking lessons, though, because the one time I got assigned to cut tomatoes, the person standing next to me said I wasn't doing a good enough job, and I cut my hand. So I got taken off of tomatoes. I was too upset at them telling me I wasn't doing a good job that I cut my hand by mistake. So, and I'll put it this way: there was never anyone else in the immediate vicinity growing up that could cook. If you catch my drift, I'm trying to be very nice about this. So I don't really try too hard when it comes to cooking. I keep things simple. Typically speaking, I eat rice and chicken, and I'll cut up some vegetables, like maybe some carrots or some green onions or something like that. And I'll just get something like grapes or something like that to have in the fridge. I think I have some grapes in the fridge right now. They're probably going bad, given how the rest of my track record has been so far. So typically what I did is I would cook the raw chicken on the stove, and more recently I've been putting it into the oven. Well, this recent time I put the raw chicken into the oven, and I forgot to set a timer, so it got burnt. And it's a simple thing, but I felt pretty terrible about that, because I have these, like, black discs in the oven now, and, like, I don't like wasting food, so I'm trying to eat it, and in the process of eating it, I actually broke off one of the metal brackets, or pegs, whatever they're called, in my teeth for my braces. I swallowed it. I mean, I don't know if I swallowed it or not, but as far as I can tell, it's probably what happened. And so what I took with that ruined meal, I ruined a chicken breast. I took out, like, a blender, and I just put all of it in there, and I blended it up, and I mixed in some salt and, like, a cup of water, and I had some bouillon, and I mixed all of that together, and I kind of made a broth with it, and I put it over some rice, and it ended up saying it tasted alright is really nice. I thought it was pretty terrible, but I still forced myself to eat it, just because I really didn't want to waste any food. So, a chicken breast can typically last me about a week or so. And I ultimately broke that down into a single meal. So I felt pretty terrible about that. And the entire time that was happening, I had this, like, overwhelming feeling of, like, I mess up everything that I do. Like, this is something really basic that everybody does, and I can't even do it right. And I feel that way in a lot of the interactions that I have with other people, and a lot of very basic things that I think other people don't struggle with that I struggle with. And the whole time I was messing that up and trying to fix it, I just kind of had this, like, flashback of all the times where I've messed something up before. And I was, like, just constantly, like, mocked and insulted for it and things like that. There's one time in college I tried making SpaghettiOs, and I'm not going to give you the full details on that. But when my friends found out about it, they proceeded to call me a massive idiot for the next week. That's putting it nicely. This is another example of the things that I actually was told, I don't feel comfortable saying here because I don't want to get, like, in trouble for saying something bad or anything. I also just don't like repeating abusive language either. But I'm talking, like, I think the best way I can put it is that someone who has, I don't need to list somebody else's shortcomings, but whoever is, like, the worst person you can think of in your head, picture them calling me a massive loser and saying that, like, I'm incapable of doing anything, and you're probably still not accurate towards the person who actually said something. But I think about, like, that when it comes to cooking, of, like, I messed up something one time, and now it's like I'm just this massive idiot for the rest of all time when it comes to cooking. Like, nobody taught me how to cook. I just figure out stuff for myself, and I try to share that so I can get better, and the response is like, man, I don't even think I'd feed that to my dog. And it's like, well, okay, I guess I'm never gonna get better then. I don't have a frame of reference for what's good or not. And there's just other instances like that happening too that genuinely really bother me. Like when I was in Japan, anytime a waiter would, like, ask me what I wanted to drink or, like, ask me what I wanted to eat, I would pause to, like, think about that for a second. Like, I'd look at the menu again for one more second, and I'd be like, you know, I'd stutter in Japanese, you know, so that way they would know I'm, like, thinking about it. One of the people in the group would always, like, look at me and be like, Cameron, he's asking your order. And it was, like, frustrating to be, like, I can't even, like, order without people thinking I'm an idiot for some reason or something like that. And to go off of what a couple of you have been saying, of, like, I should try and get in contact with old friends, or I should try and reach out to my family to try and feel less lonely. I wanted to mention that because that is, I do appreciate all of the well wishes and everybody giving advice like that. It is genuinely appreciated. I don't have any old friends. I didn't make a single friend until I got to college, and I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if any of the friends I made in college are sick of dealing with me at this point. I did not have any friends until I got to college. Like, there was not a single person prior to that. It was just, like, nothing but bullying and ostracization and things like that. I could make a whole video just talking about the horrible things that happened to me, but I guess just for like a frame of reference for now, when I was in the 4th grade, everybody in the class was sitting at the lunch table, and I come from a small school, right? So everyone in the class is about 10 people for a frame of reference. And I was the last person in line. I sat down, and everyone got up from the table and went and sat somewhere else, and I was by myself. I think one of my earliest memories of like interaction with somebody who wasn't a family member was preschool. I don't remember the context, but it was me getting shoved into a puddle and kicked in the stomach. So, not really much help there. And then the family thing, I think that's maybe a bit too private to talk about publicly like this. So I guess I can just say that whole thing about pretending to be somebody else around other people, that's at its worst when I'm around my family. They took me out to eat for my birthday recently. I didn't get to pick the restaurant. I didn't want to go where we went. And no one really said anything to me directly while we were there the entire time. I tried to talk and like participate in the conversation, but I always kind of drifted away from me directly. And I mean, if I'm being honest, it's like I'm just used to that. So I think that me trying to talk means there's something wrong with me, because it's just what I'm used to being around all the time. And I still think it's selfish for me to think, well, it's my birthday. Why don't I get to be included in the conversation? But studies would show that wanting people to acknowledge you on your birthday is not a selfish thing. It means that you're a human being who needs as much affection as anybody else. So that's kind of where the whole feeling inadequate or feeling like nobody respects me or feeling like I'm incompetent stems from. I don't feel like I'm good at anything. What am I good at? It's like, I'm good at playing video games, but even then it's like, the situations where I'm given the opportunity to share that with someone, it's like they only see the worst context of that. It's like I just mess up in front of them and I look like an idiot. Or it'll be like a fighting game tournament. Instead of Tekken, oh my goodness, Tekken. Instead of it being Tekken, it'll be some game that I've never played before and I won't do well, and it'll be like, wow, Cameron's terrible at this. He talks so much about being good at Tekken, but he's not good at this, but he's terrible at everything. And I just don't really feel like anyone respects me. I don't feel like anyone really looks up to me in any meaningful way. And I mean, why would they? You know, it's like, I'm 25. I live in a, you know, an apartment like this. I'm surprised there's not like a gun going off or like a bass blaring outside my window like it's been going the like entire rest of the day. I don't have a job. I can't cook. I don't know if I said that already or not. I don't have any friends. I'm not in crazy good shape, you know. I mean, I can walk like 20 miles a day, but who can't? You know, why would anybody look up to me? And so if I'm like that much of a loser, like I think everybody sees me, then how am I supposed to help anybody? Why would anybody trust what I have to say? But if I really genuinely truly believed all of that, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I wouldn't be saying all of this right now as if some part of me didn't think that that was wrong. I know I'm good at some things, and I know that my willingness to put myself out there at the risk of being ridiculed, despite, you know, getting kicked in the stomach being like one of my earliest memories. You know, maybe there's something there that I just can't see. And every time I make one of these videos where I kind of just talk about how not great I'm doing, or about something that made me sad, or maybe I'll be really excited and I'll talk about something that I like a lot, and then seeing how many comments are just so supportive, or just genuinely trying to respond to what I'm saying, like being like, Cameron, you should do this, or like, Cameron, have you tried this? That makes me feel like maybe I'm not doing something wrong. And I like to think that maybe through sharing these videos that there's some type of like connection that's being made. Even if it's a matter of like, there's one person who watches this video who feels the same way that I do, and then all of a sudden they feel less alone. You know? Anytime somebody comments being like, hey, I feel the exact same way, and they write like a little paragraph like explaining like, I'm in college, I feel the same way, or like, I'm like 30 years old and I feel the same way, it makes it feel less lonely. And I basically say that in every video, but like legitimately, just being able to talk with you guys helps me out a lot. Because rather than it being like people just assume the worst of me, and people just say bad things to me to make themselves feel better because they're insecure about something, or like my worst traits are just always on display for everybody, it's like I can just be myself, and that's the only thing that's present. I don't need to pretend to be somebody else when I'm recording this video. I don't need to put on a funny voice. I don't need to pretend like I know more about a topic than I actually do. I don't have to like kiss up to anybody. I can just make a video, and I can just say how I feel. And if somebody doesn't get the point of what I'm trying to say, then that's their problem for once. You know, it's not like there's something wrong with me for saying that in the first place. So I don't really know what the solution to feeling incompetent is. I think, if anything, that I feel that way about myself is more relevant than the fact that let's say every single person that I know sees me that way. That wouldn't matter if I believed in myself. That wouldn't matter if I didn't see myself in the same way, because it just wouldn't be true then, you know? But the fact that I see myself that way, even if nobody else does, means that there's something that I need to fix. I mean, everybody always tells me that I'm really good at writing. Notice how in the section about things that I'm good at, I didn't even say anything about writing, because I think I'm terrible at writing. I think anything I've written is horrible. And I've talked about writing on these videos before, about how I want to write a book or something like that. But I just don't write. Why? Because I think I'm bad. This is a real story. When I was on campus, someone in a writing class I had like a year prior recognized me at Walmart and came over and said, "Are you published yet? Like, did you graduate already? Or like, did you drop out? Like, there's no way you're not published. You're like an amazing writer." This guy was like 27, 28 or something. I think he was like 28. And he like used to be in the military, and he used like all of his military time to pay for his college. And now he was like working on a creative writing degree or something like that, like an English degree or something like that. And he stopped me. He recognized me and he stopped me, and he said, "You already graduated, right? Like, you got to get published." He would have no reason to come up to me and do that. I mean, when I was on my flight to Japan, I don't even think I mentioned this. When I was on my flight to Japan, on the flight leaving from my city, the guy sitting next to me on the plane stopped me and said, "Aren't you Cameron?" And I'm like, "Yeah? What did I do?" He's like, "Didn't you always sit in the front row in all those psychology classes over at the University of South Dakota?" And I'm like, "Yeah?" And he's like, "Yeah, I remember you. You were always very smart." And I'm like, "What?" And then that like opened up a can of worms, where I remembered being on campus, there were multiple times where someone who I didn't recognize would be like, "Oh, you're that guy. You're that smart guy who always asks questions and talks with the professor after class." And it's like my own standards for myself are on a level that's just different from the way that other people see me, where someone comes up to me and they're like, hey, you're that guy who sits in the front row and always asks questions and talks to the professor. You're that really smart guy. I'm like, someone said that to me, like, you're that smart guy who stays after class and talks with the professor. And the first thought I had when they said that was, I thought that's what you were supposed to do when you went to college. When I graduated, I was holding like my like fake degree because they signed the real one and sent it out, and it had like cum laude written on it. And I turned to the guy sitting next to me, and I'm like, "What does that mean?" And he's like, "You're messing with me, right?" And I'm like, "No." And then I turned to the girl sitting next to me, and she's like, "It means you're better than us." I was like, "Okay." I feel like I might have told that one already. But if I remove myself from these stories, if I focus on just the objective facts of what happened, if I'm not involved, then I can go, well, this wouldn't happen to somebody who wasn't smart, or like this wouldn't happen to somebody who isn't good at things. It's just that in the moments where it's explicitly me, and it's either being completely ignored at my own birthday dinner at a restaurant I didn't want to go to, or it's messing up cooking something, or it's just playing a video game in front of somebody else and embarrassing myself. It's hard to get past that. And I mean, I've had like conversations recently where I realize that the person who's talking to me doesn't actually care about what I have to say. Like, they're just saying something that they want to make themselves feel good. Or, like, someone asks, excuse me, sorry, that bad chicken's coming back up. Someone asks me for an opinion on something that I really care about, and I give my opinion. And they say, well, I like it, so it doesn't matter. And it's like, well, why ask me in the first place? So, rather than focusing on that, I just kind of, it all boils back, it all boils down, it all goes back to, I just need to trust myself. I just need to believe in myself that I know what I'm talking about. That's the only thing that matters. Because the people who believe in me do so because they know I can get through it. Because they know that I'm worth more than how I think I am. That's all there is, you know? And I mean, we're getting really close to 200 subscribers, you know? I was at 66 when I made that video just a couple of months ago. I didn't think people cared about listening to me just try and get through stuff. But it's at 190 now, you know? It's at almost 200. That's crazy. And I mean, who knows how far that can keep going, you know? Because if that number keeps getting higher and more people keep commenting, because it does keep going up. That's the crazy thing to me, is that, like, when I make a new video, it goes up. It goes up, usually. There's been a couple of videos that are just kind of like, whatever, nobody looks at it. I unlisted those, by the way, in case for some reason you're curious about what happened to that. I'll put it back up if somebody cares enough, or, like, I'll make, like, a secret video playlist or something like that. But my views are continuing to go up. And my subscribers are continuing to go up. I want to say just like 2 weeks ago it was at like 170. Now it's at like 190. Maybe even less than that. And like less time than that. So if those numbers keep going up, and there's more comments, and there's more of you like sharing your own stories and talking and reaching out, then making these videos is something that I'm good at. Then just being who I am is something I'm good at. There's nothing to be ashamed of in that way. So I'm gonna keep making videos. I'm gonna keep trying to be better. Sorry, that's that chicken again. And I'm gonna not burn my chicken in the stove. And if someone tries to get in my way of being who I want to be, then I just have to double down on being me. Because the people who matter are going to see that, and they're going to be okay with that. And those are the people I should be better for. As an aside, I gained like 5 pounds since I came back from Japan. I'm not surprised about that. You walk around like 20 miles, 10 miles a day. It's not surprising when you come back to America and you just eat pizza. It just all comes right back, baby. But I need to work out more. So that's the plan. Next week is going to be workout update. It's going to be getting my life together update, part 7. That video is going to be titled like Getting My Life Together, Part 7. I'm titling it that. If I don't name it that, you're all free to, like, get mad at me over that. That next video is going to be named Getting My Life Together, Part 7. That's the plan. I might cut out Part 7. No! Dang it. There's already a video named Getting My Life Together. Okay. Suggest me, what should I name the Getting My Life Together video? Recommend me names. I believe in you guys. Okay. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to call the orthodontist tomorrow to get this fixed. But you guys, I appreciate all of you who watched this far. Let's just skip to the end. I appreciate you being interested, but please go watch the rest of the video. If you want, no pressure. But I appreciate all of you guys, and thank you for sticking with me through this. We're all going to make it, okay? 100%. We're all going to make it.